Welcome to The Explainer, where we dig into influential ideas. Today, we're taking a look at a really fascinating 1974 speech by Reverend Sun Myung Moon called Our Hope. It lays out this grand vision for what humanity's ultimate purpose is. And it all kicks off with a very personal, very direct question.
Okay, let's just jump right in. The speech starts by asking you to imagine something. Picture yourself at the absolute peak of your success. You did it. You achieved everything you ever dreamed of. So what now? What's next? It's a question that's really designed to make you look past the goals you set every day.
And you know, this drive is something we all have. The speech totally gets that. It acknowledges that from the time we're young, we're all kind of pushed by this hope to be somebody, to climb that ladder, to make our mark on the world. It's really the engine of human ambition. But here's the twist. Just as it builds up this whole idea of worldly ambition, the speech immediately starts to take it apart. It argues that these conventional hopes, even when you get everything you want, they just can't give you lasting satisfaction. It gives this super powerful example of a national leader. Think about it. You become the president. You have all this incredible power, but only for 4, maybe 8 years. And after that, you're just a regular citizen again. The argument here is that from that high point, there's really nowhere to go but down. And it leaves this kind of fundamental emptiness. And it's not just about politics. The same logic gets applied to the world of academia. You could be a scholar who wins 100 Nobel Prizes, but even that can't stop time. The speech suggests that this kind of success, well, it doesn't guarantee you'll be happy or have a fulfilling family life. So this all leads to a really crucial question. If the highest levels of power and the greatest intellectual achievements all come up short in the end, then what is our true hope? What's the one thing that can give us meaning that actually lasts? So after kind of tearing down these worldly ambitions, the speech makes a big pivot. It suggests that the answer isn't something you can find in power or knowledge, but in something way more fundamental to who we are. And the answer, to put it simply, is love. The speech presents love not just as some feeling, but as the absolute most valuable and essential part of being human. It's the one thing that everybody, without exception, needs. But you know, it doesn't just stop there. It's not enough to just say, love is the answer. It goes deeper and asks, what is this thing we call love? Is it something we create ourselves, or is it something we have to get from someone else? The thinking then lays out this whole line of reasoning. First, it argues that love has to come from outside of us. Not only that, but we instinctively want love from a source that's higher and greater than we are. And for love to be stable and not just fleeting, its origin has to be absolute, eternal, and unchanging. The speech concludes that this ultimate source can only be God. So this idea of a divine love builds into the real core framework of the speech, a very specific model for how love is supposed to work in our daily lives and in our relationships. Okay, so 2 types of love are introduced here. On one hand, you have vertical love. This is primary, it's the foundation. It's described as flowing down from God, through parents, to their children. It's stable, and it has a long history, starting even before we're born. Then, on the other hand, there's horizontal love. This is the love between partners, like a husband and wife. This is seen as secondary, and it can be insecure, kind of floating, if it isn't anchored by that first vertical love. And this gets us to one of the central arguments of the whole speech. For a romantic love to really work and last, it has to be built on the foundation of that vertical love. That vertical connection, that's the key. It's the anchor that keeps the horizontal relationship steady. Now, this whole framework of vertical and horizontal love isn't just a theory. It's actually used as a lens to diagnose what the speech sees as the biggest problem in modern society, especially in the West. The perspective here is pretty blunt. It's that Western culture made a huge mistake by putting romantic or horizontal love above parental or vertical love. It describes teenagers, for example, turning away from their parents to chase romantic relationships that, because they don't have that proper foundation, are just inherently unstable. And this, the speech claims, has led society to a total dead end. So what's the solution? Well, it's a big one. We're talking about a complete revolution of the family system. The goal is to bring back the importance of vertical love, and to do that by uniting what the speech calls the Eastern tradition of respecting parents with the Western focus on partnership. And it's stated very clearly that this reform is a core mission of the Unification Church. All right, so this all leads us to the speech's ultimate vision. If society can be reformed around this principle of love, what does that new world actually look like?
Well, it's a world that's powered by a completely different kind of energy. A really powerful metaphor is used to describe this divine love. It's compared to electricity, but we're not talking about a small current. The speech describes it as billions of volts. This isn't just some gentle feeling. It's an overwhelming force that can literally intoxicate a person with joy, making everything else just pale in comparison. And this powerful love isn't meant to be kept to oneself. The vision is for it to expand outward, like ripples in a pond. It starts by transforming the individual, and then it radiates out through their family, their tribe, their nation, the entire world, and ultimately the whole cosmos. So, the structure of this new world is described as being very clear. At the center of it all is God. And this divine love is said to flow to all of humanity through a central figure, who is identified as the Messiah. And it's embodied by figures the speech calls the true parents, who set up the ideal family model for the rest of the world to follow.
And the main operating principle for this entire system? It's selfless sacrifice. This worldview totally flips our normal idea of love on its head. It defines true love not by what you get, but by your ability to live for other people. God exists for humanity, and in turn, humanity should exist for others and for God. It's a completely outward-focused way of living. And that's our look into the 1974 speech, Our Hope. It takes us on this huge journey from the emptiness of worldly goals all the way to a vision of the entire cosmos united by a divine, self-sacrificial love. And we're left with this final, really provocative thought to chew on. What would a world built entirely on that principle actually look like?